Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Apostate Weekly. I'm your host, James.
And I'm your special guest host, Crystal.
And let's roll that intro. All right, and here we are. So, as you see, we got a special guest host with us today. Rion, her dog had to get spayed and had to get a claw cut off too, because apparently she injured it. So we got a little bit different setup going on this morning. As you can see, I'm not leaning forward. I'm using a special mouse pad here to operate things. So, yeah, welcome everybody. And for those who don't know, it's my wife, Crystal. So how you doing this morning, Crystal?
I'm awake.
You're awake? Still waking up.
But I have been awake since 6:20. So
Speak a little louder.
I have been awake since 6:20.
So anyway, got some news stories to share with you this morning. Which one would you like to start with?
I say we go with the crash and bang.
The crash and bang? Okay, well,
Video.
It's our guest choice today, so we will start off with this story right here. Yes, that one. So, found this story on Reddit where this guy is going around and, for lack of a better term, he is really cart crashing the Jehovah's Witnesses carts. Let's take a look and see what they're doing. Yeah. Hey, good morning, Mom. This is the same guy again coming up. Looks like he's talking to him first here.
Throw them on the ground.
And he takes both of them and just throws them. So I know, it's crazy. Now, this guy really is taking cart crashing to the whole new level here. Now, I don't condone this kind of behavior personally. I don't think it's right for him to go and do that. However, there is a little bit of humor in it, but I wouldn't condone him doing something like that. What do you say?
I mean,
you can have your own opinions. It's all good.
I mean, I don't think it's right, I suppose, but I mean, part of me understands why he does it.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean,
well, my question would be about this guy is he an ex-JW in any way? It doesn't look like it.
Doubt it. He's an Orthodox Greek priest.
I know. It doesn't look like it. But, there are people who leave the religion and they do join other religions afterwards. So
that's a little extreme, going from JWs to Orthodox Greek.
Yeah, I mean, some people do. Some people
their own.
Jump from cult to cult. And it's a sad thing, but it happens. But yet, even if he isn't an XJW, which I highly doubt, you still don't want to go and damage other people's property like that. You know, go have a dialogue with them, have a conversation, you know, talk to them and communicate with them. Don't destroy property.
That's true. I agree. Don't destroy the property. Although, it's a little funny to watch.
Speak just a little louder, please, darling.
I'm sorry. I said although you are correct. It just is a little funny to watch.
See, I just successfully got my wife to say you are correct louder. That's a win for today.
Notice I'm rolling my eyes.
Wait, video's getting choppy. Hang on. Yeah, I agree, Doc. It does look orthodox. So, I mean, again, funny, don't condone it. So what's the next article you'd like to, got two more to go. Go
with your dark article.
The cult.
Yeah.
All right. We are going to discuss another cult. And this one has a very Jim Jones vibe going on / Heaven's Gate. This one, although it doesn't have to do with the Jehovah's Witnesses, it does have to do with the effect that cults can have on their members. And this is in Kenya, where 73 dead in connection to a suspected starvation cult in Kenya. This guy had his followers starve themselves to death, letting them think that they're going to get into heaven because of this. I mean, can you imagine what that would be like, starving to death?
Coming from, being a witness, I mean, we had talked about this too as we discussed this article. Do we think that witnesses or the organization or the governing body have that kind of power over their flock? And I was of the opinion that I didn't think they had that power over their flock. That there is some sort of morality in being a witness, that you respect life to a certain extent, and that suicide is very, very, very frowned upon. And so it is really sad when you see people that do, have that much control over people, that they can convince them that suicide is their way to everlasting salvation. That really is, it's evil.
Oh yeah.
It's sad. And I'm glad that the organization, I don't think, has that type of power, because that would be very scary.
Yeah, it would be. And, going along with what you were saying there, I do agree with you that I don't think the organization would do that based off what they've said about suicide as well. Morning, Jay. And I think because the organization has always talked about suicide as being a selfish thing, and we wouldn't want to do that. So I can't see them saying, hey, everybody, all of a sudden we got to take these pills, drink this drink or whatever, and off ourselves if we want to make it through the Great Tribulation and Armageddon.
They pride themselves on going through great tribulation.
Yes, they do. They do.
So, I mean, death would be too easy for them.
Yeah, that's right. And also, how many times can you remember? I don't know about you, but I do remember growing up where I'd be like, oh, I want to make it through Armageddon and, see this all happen and this and that, Did you ever
know. I never had a very Christian view of Armageddon, and paradise. It was never something that was very fathomable to me. So, like, you know how some people say they have dreams about it, or they have, you know, like daydreams or fantasies or whatever. I'm like, it never seemed very real to me. So I never really had thoughts about it.
So
you have a point, Barbara. At the same time, they don't consider that suicide, though. At least the organization doesn't. They consider that dying for your love of God, I suppose.
Yeah, the best category I could put that into is martyrdom.
Yeah.
And, you know, and even still, I can still classify this cult in Kenya as martyrdom as well, because they were dying for whatever belief this cult leader was putting into their heads. And who knows how much propaganda this guy was given to his people before they did all this. Because if you go back and look at like the Jim Jones cult, he was constantly over the loudspeakers to the whole encampment talking day and night. Of course, not him personally, but recordings of him. So, you know, they always had something to keep themselves indoctrinated, to keep in that high alert state of whatever they were about to do. So that way they would be willing and faithful all the way to the end attitude. And really, I can see how the organization now is like that in a lot of ways with all the propaganda they produce. I don't think he could lock the screen door. So they're constantly getting fed that propaganda, and they're constantly hearing how close to the end it is and all that. So they're always on that heightened alert, and they're wanting the persecution. They're wanting the, I can't think of any other words for it, but they want these things to happen to them, and they want to experience it themselves.
Yeah, it's dark.
So yeah, it is a very dark thing, and I couldn't imagine. I thought about looking it up, but I didn't want to, what starving to death is like, because I just couldn't imagine, because I'm just a mean grump when I'm hungry.
So true. So very true.
So I don't want to die mean and angry at everybody. Scientologists think of self-deleting as dropping the body so that a person can come back a more evolved person who can save the world better.
So they encourage suicide?
Sounds like it. Well, that's basically, I think, what L. Ron Hubbard said he was going to do eventually, was come back somehow, but his prophecy also failed because it was supposed to be 20 years, and we're way past that already. Morning, Ryan. Welcome to the show this morning. Hope your puppy's doing well. All right. Let's go on to our final news segment this morning.
I think this is my favorite one.
So in Japan, we know that they've already been having lawyers that are ex-Jehovah's Witnesses trying to get policies changed in Japan.
Because Japanese are very evolved people. They got this down, because this is good. This is good stuff.
This is good stuff. This is fantastic stuff. Now, this doesn't relate directly to the Jehovah's Witnesses, but it will cover them in the scope of this law. So let's take a look at this here. This law basically is going to be constituting. Hang on. What?
This one. So, children of religious groups, followers have criticized authorities' handling of the issue in the past. The issue being,
The issue is about abuse, and the law is going to stipulate 4 different types of abuse: physical, sexual, neglect, and psychological abuse.
All right.
Okay, so that's what this law is going after.
And I think the big one for witnesses is the psychological one.
This is the child abuse prevention law. And so,
and this paragraph says it right here: inciting fear by telling children they will go to hell if they don't participate in religious activities, or preventing them from making decisions about their career path, is regarded as psychological abuse and neglect in the guidelines.
yes.
So that's a big one for witnesses, because while they don't say that the children are going to hell, I mean, how frowned upon is it for you to go to college? How frowned upon is it for you to have a career that isn't preaching?
Yes.
Isn't pioneering, isn't.
And notice this too. I think this is huge in this as well. The very next paragraph, it says other acts that will constitute neglect include not having the financial resources to provide adequate food and housing for children as a result of making large donations. I don't see how that's super relevant to the JWs, but this next line is, or blocking their interaction with friends due to a difference in religious beliefs and thereby undermining their social skills.
That is a huge one, because just from personal experience, being raised as a witness, when you do leave, you lose your social circle. And that is so detrimental to so many people, because not only do you lose your social circle, but you were never trained as a child to know how to get a social circle.
No, not at all.
Know how to make lifelong friends, know how to make lifelong relationships, know how to give and take in a relationship, because it's just love bombing. And
well, I mean, if you think about it, remember what we were always told as kids, that the school is our personal territory that we have. So they put it into our minds that in order to have friends, we always had to preach to them and try to get them to be part of our religion somehow. And okay, Ryan, I will. Hang on. There we go. Thank you. And so, you know, their only social interactions were supposed to be, you know, all about the religion.
And just the fact that when you only have religious friends, you have the religion in common, and that's all that matters to your friendship. When you are making friends that are not of your religion, you have to learn how to make friends that have different things in common with you, have, you know, different interests, different, you know, different social statuses, different everything. And we're just not taught how to do that as children, as witness children, especially.
Well, I mean, even witness children are supposed to be suspicious of each other too. We got to watch out for making sure that they're not bad associates, that they're still in good standing, and the whole 9 yards with that. So it's like, even with your own, yes, I know I put it up there on purpose.
Thank you, Ryan.
But okay. Here, is that better? But I mean, we still had to make.
You have a beautiful face, sweetheart.
Thank you, honey. But we still had to be on the guard even against kids in our own kingdom halls.
Anybody could turn on you if you shared something that they could hold over you if they wanted to, or just tell the elders on you if they wanted to. I mean, just there's no real camaraderie as far as secrets go.
No, there's not. You got in trouble because a friend you brought to the memorial didn't want a Bible study after. I'd like to hear that story sometime. Please message me and get in touch with me, and I'd like to hear that. I mean, if a kid was just in any way doing anything rebellious against the organization, and just the tiniest bits, if he didn't listen to the right music, or, you know, wasn't watching the right TV shows, or heaven forbid, you're allowed to watch certain movies or TV shows in your house, but they're not in their house. It's so convoluted and fucked up that they got your mind so engulfed with all these things and it doesn't let you just be a kid. It doesn't let you just go up and be friends with somebody and just talk and interact and what are your interests and what are their interests. And
that's the cult mentality.
Yeah.
You know? It's just, that's why I say it's so detrimental to adults that end up leaving, because I mean, I just, from personal experience, it's just so, losing your social circle and having to rebuild a new social circle anytime in your life. I mean, some people leave when they're 40, 50, 60, 70. I mean, that's it's so challenging.
Yeah, it is. I mean, but you were actually lucky though. When I met you.
What do you mean?
You had friends that were not witnesses that you hung out with and did things with.
Not very often, but yeah.
But your parents still let you though.
On rare occasion. On
rare occasion. Still, that's huge though. I remember as a kid trying to play with the neighborhood boys. I lied to my parents, told them they were witnesses so I could go play with them. No, I did not just say that she was lucky when she met me. I did not say that.
Sure, I understand. Siri, be quiet.
Shut up, Watch.
He was saying that I was lucky because I did not have the strictest witness parents.
Yes. Yes, Siri does love interrupting me. She does it all the time. Yes. And you guys as well, you had to build your friendship circle that you got now. And that's not easy. Oh, excuse me. But anyways, Japan, hats off to you, Japan. Keep up the good work. Keep on keeping on with that, because, you know, if this country can set a precedence with this, I hope that other countries will see that and start doing it and implementing themselves. Unfortunately, America is slow on the uptake when it comes to that. And
well, that just because America is basically run by cults. So
it is, yep. And that's the problem, though.
So it's so I can't emphasize enough that more people need to watch shows like The Handmaid's Tale, because it seriously feels like this country is just spiraling into that. In 1980, George Orwell. I mean, it just,
yep.
There are people that talk about what's happening now.
Yes, there are. And on top of that, there are books that explain these tactics the cults use to control their people. So
I've always been, it's so funny, like, when you work like in customer service or you work as a teacher like I have, or you realize that so much of the world doesn't know what the fuck is going on.
No, they don't.
They just don't. And you work at a bank and you realize that 90% of the people don't know how to balance a checkbook. Balance a checkbook. Or that 90% of your students don't understand the basic concepts of so many different things. Just, I can't even name one. It's just, because it's just crazy. And like, even now, as working in insurance, just the things that you have to explain to people because they don't understand is just, it's scary. What has the world come to that we are so naive?
Well, a lot of that has to do with the education system in our schools too. What they have and what they don't have, the resources.
But I had those same resources. I didn't go to private school. I was a public school child, and I know how to balance a checkbook. I know I am not naive. I see what's going on in the world around me. So am I just a lucky like 1%?
Maybe, because I didn't get a whole lot out of public school.
You homeschool. That is totally different.
In high school.
Totally different. High school is a very critical, important to critical thinking.
K through 8, I was in public school.
High school is important for your critical thinking skills, and so is college. And
and the JWs were detrimental to that for me, unfortunately, too. So, anyways,
is that because you recognize indoctrination? What do you mean? What do you mean, Ryan? Oh, I may be more aware than most. I guess. I don't know if that's what it is. I do realize that I'm not a good example of sometimes I'm not a good example of being a witness, like past witness, just because probably by the time that I was 8 or 9 years old, I knew it was a crock of baloney.
Yeah.
And I just was doing it just to do it, because as an 8 or 9 year old or as a teenager, if you have any smarts about you, you know that you can't leave until you have resources. And I didn't have resources. And so I knew that I just had to stay the course, whatever that course may be, whatever you have to do to survive. You just turn on the survival switch and then you just go. And then when I finally had a way out, you asked James, when he finally came and said, I'm ready to go. I jumped on the bandwagon. Like, there was no hesitation. There was like, praise the Lord God, not the real, not Jehovah God. Praise whatever the spaghetti monster is in the sky, that you would finally come to your senses, so that we have the resources, or we can put the resources together to leave the situation that we're in, because that's what it was. But I was doing the motions for so many years. It was just like,
well, one of these days we'll have to tell the story completely together. So, but that'll be for another time. We gotta get going because this beautiful lady has to get going to work. So she joined us before her work today. So thank you everybody for joining in. Got up to 12 people viewing right now. That's awesome, especially for changing the time. So thank you all for joining us, even though we changed the time up today. And next week we'll be back at it again, the same channel, and that's the when she says that's the Apostate Coalition channel.
Mm-mm.
So not in like the air conditioning.
No, I knew that much.
Yeah, and we could talk about that too, Ryan. Absolutely, we can definitely talk about that. So yeah, that's all we have for today. Any final words you want to say?
It's been a pleasure co-hosting with you today. And anytime you need me, I am literally in the same household.
Yeah, I know, right? So yeah, thank you so much for joining me this morning, Crystal, and filling in. I really appreciate that. Definitely will have you on again. And everybody, you all have a wonderful week.